Shalom. Climate change. The freak waterspout that tragically sank Mike Lynch's Bayesian lot last Monday may have been a result of the climate changes we are seeing because of global warming. Our deepest sympathies are with his family and many friends. Climate change is not new. Our ancestors were alerted that when they entered the land of Israel, they would encounter different climatic conditions from the ones they experienced in Egypt. In 3 sharp sentences they were told, "The land which you are about to occupy is not like Egypt, the place you left, where you could plant your seed and irrigate it by yourself, just like a garden of greens. But the land which you are crossing to occupy is a land of mountains and valleys, which can be irrigated only by the rain. It is therefore a land constantly under the Lord your God's scrutiny. The eyes of the Lord your God are on it perpetually, from the year's beginning to the year's end." The climate in Egypt was hot but predictable. Every year the Nile would overflow its banks, creating dependable fertility throughout the area. The agricultural plenty allowed Egypt to amass its famous power and wealth, attested to in the monuments we still see today. Egypt's prosperity enabled it to develop as a military power and gave it a security unknown to most other nations in the area. But dependable fertility leads to indulgence and depravity. Egypt is held up in the Bible as the place of zina, lust and immorality. Interestingly, there's one place in biblical Israel that had a climate that resembled Egypt, Sodom. Lot, Abraham's nephew, moved to Sodom because it resembled Egypt. In that region, the river Jordan overflowed regularly and guaranteed the fertility of the surroundings. And not surprisingly, Sodom came to resemble Egypt in its depravity. Overall, the land of Israel is dependent on the rain, which comes from God. This creates an outlook of uncertainty. Will it rain? Will it rain enough? This sensitized the people to a religious outlook. Egypt and the Nile led to a concept of religion where people felt a sense of security and entitlement. There were no consequences to behavior as the Nile always rose. In contrast, Israel's dependence on its climate reinforced a culture of introspection and relationship building with a personal God. During the 40 years in the desert, the Israelites had to rely on God for everything. We can understand how many people wanted to reminisce about the good old days in Egypt where, even though they were slaves, life was predictable. Moses was now warning the people to prepare for a degree of uncertainty in their lives. Your rainfall and your harvests will be tied up with your prayers and your conduct. As global warming in our day leads to greater climate uncertainty, we need to have a greater sense of humility to appreciate that so much of what goes on in our world is out of our control. Shabbat Shalom.